to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Hatton. Of course, this is not one of my usual episodes where I have a guest and we're talking about different things. It's just me, myself, and I. Yeah. All right. And I'm coming to you on this episode to kind of give you a little bit of a review of the press conference of Brian Callahan, the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Now, of course, you noticed all the different interviews. They interviewed Antonio Pierce, Aaron Glenn, Bobby Slowick, a few others for that position. But ultimately, they decided on Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, plenty have questions about him. Plenty have questions about, different things that he's going to do and not going to do. Now, he gave a few hints towards that when you were listening to the press conference. However, I'm going to kind of touch on that and maybe just some thoughts of my own of the press conference, too. First, I kind of want to start it with, kind of give you the synergy that I kind of noticed. If you didn't notice, Ran Carthon, the general manager of the Tennessee Titans, before he introduced, Amy Adams Struck to talk about Brian Callahan, he kind of went over, I guess, the synergy. He talked about synergy. You could just tell there was synergy between both of them because, of course, he only called him really Brian Callahan one time. He called him Callie the rest of the time, which kind of, shortens his name, talks to somebody that he's pretty comfortable with, things like that. You don't really shorten up somebody's name and give them some kind of nickname unless you're pretty comfortable talking to them and have a good rapport. And it seems like obviously they have a good rapport already. And of course, Brian kind of expounded on that when he sat down and talked about the comfortability. And Amy Armstrong kind of expanded on it too, when she talked about the comfortability when they were talking with each other and the people in the room and how things just seemed to flow when they were talking. So that's one thing that I could pick up just from the entire press conference is just the compatibility, the comfortability of just with each other, being Amy Adams Strunk, the owner, Rand Carthon, the general manager, and Brian Callahan, the new head coach of the Titans. So that was something that did catch my eye and, pay attention to, along with the emotion that Brian Callahan showed. You could tell he was trying to, kind of temper his emotion, being that he was obviously very, very grateful for the position and, all the people that helped get in there. That was something of an emotional moment for him. You could tell he was kind of trying to measure that emotion. But one other thing that I thought was very interesting in this press conference is that he went into, a statement talking about that, he was going to, make an appeal or make a impassioned to be the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans, if they didn't offer him the job. That speaks to me the connection, again, that he has with this organization. It just speaks to me just the comfortability he had of speaking with everyone, how everyone is connected in what is going to be a collaborative effort to make the Titans a better team and kind of grow this team. And, also just, I know, he kind of got more of what the vision was in terms of, when everyone's asking, what's the vision? What's the vision? What's this? What's this? He kind of got a little bit more into that vision, sustained excellence. And, that was a little bit of a part of the vision that you got from this press conference. Well, I know a lot of media members were wondering, well, what's the vision? What's the vision? What's this? What's this? So you got a little piece of it right there. I'm pretty sure more to go along with that, but, it's up to us to kind of look at it and watch and see. The vision will make itself clear, basically. Now, another thing that I did notice that he talked about too is listening to the players. Now, not all coaches are going to listen to the players. Some are. Some are going to say, hey, we need to do it this way. This is the way it needs to be done for us to be successful. That's how some say it. It just seemed like to me that Brian Callahan kind of listens to the players and their ideas and things like that in order to be able to, I guess, get the best out of them, make them feel validated as players on the field, being that they are the ones making things happen, and just to overall kind of have an open door policy, things like that. He did talk about his door always being open for any players as well during the press conference, but just definitely having an open mind to anything the players want to talk to him about, or give feedback, things like that about. I thought that was very, very good to hear, because I don't know how Mike Vrabel was or any of the players and things like that, but it's always refreshing to hear that a coach wants to connect with the players, get inside the players' minds and what they see and feel and what they're comfortable with. Another example of that is he talked about, quarterbacks and, listening to quarterbacks and the things that they are thankful they do well in terms of, or comfortable with on the football field. And that was another thing that I noticed. He talked about if, they're not comfortable with something, you can throw it out, things like that, which I thought was very, very positive to say. And, it's a very good thing especially when you're working with a quarterback like Will Levis, who he did meet, by the way, he was working out when he actually or met him in the weight room, I believe, the day of the press conference. So, Will Levis was at the facility, basically. So that was interesting. Definitely good to hear. And it's definitely good to hear that he's going to be, it sounds like more of a coach that's a player's coach. He's going to demand of players, to be their best, of course, obviously, but it sounds like, he's, a player's coach as well, which is very, very positive sign for an organization that, they've had players, coaches, but I don't know this kind of player coach in terms of what he said publicly. I don't know any of the other coaches have said privately, but publicly, I can definitely say haven't really heard this quite before from any other Titans head coach. And just going down the list, the the one thing I thought was very, very interesting was he was asked about the Titans offensive line. Now, those who are not aware, the Titans offensive line was pretty bad last year. They gave up a lot of pressure. Will Levis was under siege, or whoever that quarterback was under siege a lot. And, it got pretty bad in terms of, just the different things. And eventually Will Levis got hurt, of course, hurt his ankle, missed a couple games. So, that is a key thing that plenty are talking about, this offensive line and pass protection and things like that. But I found it very interesting, the answer from Brian Callahan. What he about in his answer was, protection is not just an offensive line thing. It's wide receivers noticing, different things and shortening their routes, and a quarterback recognizing, if it's a blitz, there's one guy that's going to be uncovered, and also knowing where his hot reads are and things like that. And, running back chipping or things like that. He noted, he's basically said it's a collaborative effort for everyone to pick up different things, pick up the blitzes, or, cover up for different things that may not happen. And I think he's the perfect coach to actually talk about that. Because if you haven't noticed in the last couple of years, Joe Burrow has been under siege a lot. Yet that offense has been very, very successful. So I believe he's the perfect coach to kind of fit into this type of situation, to come and be able to work with what he has and what he's going to ultimately probably get, via the draft and free agency, and just be able to kind of work things out, make it a successful offense, and I guess more in a aggressive, new age offense in terms of Titans talk, because the last few years it's been basically run, focused, and not as focused in developing the passing game. So that was something that was interesting to hear in terms of that conversation, which the offensive line has been a sore spot for the Titans in terms of people to talk about this year a lot. This past season, I should say, a lot. People also wonder about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a free agent, for those that aren't aware. But he was asked about Derrick Henry, and of course, he, like any coach, with that type of guy or that type of talent, you would love to have Derrick Henry come back, things like that. And of course, he did talk about the fit, things like that. But, in my opinion, do I think Derrick Henry comes back? Probably not. I think he does move on and go to another team. However, with Tajay Spears, you do have a back that kind of fits the mold of what more than likely is going to be this Titans offense. Now, he said they're still going to focus on the run game because, of course, the Titans, that's basically what their team is centered and been around. I mean, if you look at the Titans, look at how many 2,000-yard rushers they have. They have a couple back there. They've had a couple back there over time. They've had 3 of probably one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. If you want to add in Earl Campbell, you've got Chris Johnson in terms of the history he has, in terms of the 2,000-yard season, things like that. And then you have Derrick Henry. Of course, you can't forget Eddie George also. They have a lineage when it comes to running backs and just running the football. The running is going to be part of this organization. That's just part of it. And Brian Callahan talked about that. However, it's going to be a focal point, but it's clear the passing game is coming. It's very, very clear that Callahan is going to develop that passing game, which that is music to the ears of a lot of Titans fans. A lot of Titans fans, definitely love the running game and Derrick Henry. However, they notice that you got to develop that passing game, be able to do a few things there just to compromise the defense and kind of maybe help that running game in the process, perhaps. We shall see. We don't know what all Brian Callahan has in store for us, but we shall indeed see when it happens, right? Okay, and another thing that kind of told me that passing game is probably going to be, highlighted a little more, I would say when he talked about balance, he talked about balance being ideal, balance of the running game, balance of the passing game, and doing those different things. However, this little nugget got slipped in. He wants to do what it takes to win football games. Now, depending upon the position where the Titans are, and if you kind of look at a little bit of the different things that have gone on through the past years, things like that, notice the Titans have been up in the first half, and then also, that the other team has come back in the second half in a good bit of aspects. If that's the case, then, of course, the passing game is going to have to develop to kind of maybe salt and put those games away. And then the running game to close it out. So it's, that's where the balance comes in. But I'm going to think that more than likely the passing game is going to have to be better. A little bit more of an inkling that, he may lean more towards the passing game to kind of develop that just a little bit more in those aspects. And then also, of course, he definitely, to kind of lean on a little bit of different things there. And I kind of just wanted to break down just a little bit more of his press conference. Overall, you can tell that he definitely wants to be here in Nashville. He definitely wants to create an environment like he just left in Cincinnati. He talked about that as well. Brian Callahan definitely talked about that. He talked about how he wants to work to be a place that everyone wants to come to every day and is kind of excited about the things they want to do. And, I just overall, I definitely think it's a very, very good hire. A lot of people are making of him not being a play caller in Cincinnati, which, he's definitely going to be the play caller here in Nashville. He did state that. But a lot of people are making it of making light of him not being a play caller in Cincinnati. But what people are not understanding is he developed the whole game plan. He was very, very instrumental in developing the game plan for Joe Burrow. Worked with Joe. He's worked with Peyton Manning. He's worked with Matt Stafford. He's has been basically played a part in a lot of very talented quarterbacks' careers. So if you're a Titans fan, you're very, very excited for what maybe he can bring to Will Levis, what he can bring out of Will Levis, and what he can do for him. And, if you have a quarterback that, is playing well and you can develop and is making good things happen, that ultimately bodes well for your team. So, again, we'll see what happens when it comes to Brian Callahan, moves that are ultimately made, the people that are ultimately brought in free agency. I know one name that everyone talks about that could be available. That would be Mr. T. Higgins from the Cincinnati Bengals, and potentially him coming here. And he is from the state of Tennessee, by the way, for those that don't know. It'll just be interesting just to see just the pieces that are brought in. Again, the Titans are second in the salary cap in terms of most money available this offseason. So it'll be interesting to see how they spend that money. Do they spend it big? Do they spend it judiciously? How do they do that? It'll be interesting just to watch what kind of pieces they bring in and how Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan come together to bring the vision they have for sustained success on the football field for the Tennessee Titans. They don't want the great season, the great season, the bad season. They want sustained success. So just wanted to pop on and talk about this hire for the Tennessee Titans. Probably going to be doing this a little bit more either during the season or just, during the off season, things like that. Maybe a big free agent signing happens and maybe I talk about that. You'll just have to stay tuned to see. But I want to thank you all for tuning in to this kind of, I guess, mini episode, I would say. Of course, my name is Mike Patton. I am the host of Touring the AFC South. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82 on the artist formerly known as Twitter. Yes, paying homage to Prince, definitely. But of course, you can find me also on Threads and Instagram at that's THA, not THE _general_NP. And also, you can find Touring the AFC South on YouTube, as well as all listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. I want to thank you for your time and tuning in to this mini episode of Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.